My name is Mason Goncisco, and my number is 003962-0019. For the World Theater research presentation, I decided to do mine on Rakugo Theater, which is a theater from Japan. Rakugo, if you take the kanji, the Japanese symbols that spell out Rakugo, it means falling words, which instead of being literal falling words, it means the punchline, the falling word, the word that the joke falls on. It's sort of like an idiomatic phrase. It's hard to translate, but... Okay, so this is just an example of an image. This is a Rakugo performer in like traditional Rakugo like theater and garb and stuff like that. And so Rakugo is also like sit-down comedy. Like, it's like, you know how in the West we have stand-up comedy where there's a guy like who's telling jokes to either good or bad effect? Well, it's like that, but they sit down. The performer, who is called the Rakugoka, the performer sits on the ground in a kneeling position, and he tells a winding dialogue to the audience, usually comedic in nature, but like long and winding and like complex. And like, unlike Western comedy, where like stand-up comedy, where there's a narrator who's telling the story, the performer actually is the story. He is the character. He is every character, all at the same, in the same performance. And so the performer needs to have the ability to portray every single one of the characters and the ability to allow the audience to differentiate between them, to like tell, oh, he's changed characters now. And so a way to like make distinctions between like different characters is like if you change the posture, the voice, your facial expression, other things like that. They're like, it can be either really subtle or really blatant depending on how different the characters are. And so that the audience can like easier understand and detect the character shifts. Usually the characters like stereotypes, they're exaggerated, like there's the boisterous person, there's the drunk, the like conniving evil guy, the smart person, and the performer plays male roles, female roles, sometimes even animal roles. Every single role is played by one person. With the performance, most performances are 10 to 30 minutes long. Like there are differentiations, like some are like 5 minutes, some can go upwards of like 45 minutes to an hour, which is very long. And the performer needs to be able to adapt, like maybe lengthen or shorten it as the requirements of the audience. Like if the audience seems like they're bored, maybe like get to a more entertaining part. And so it's made up of 3 parts. The makura, which is the prelude, like the introduction, the starting point, introducing all the characters in the situation. There's the handai, which is the main storyline, like it's usually the longest part. It's the elaboration and the rising action. And then there's the ochi, which is the climax, the punchline, like the moment where everybody like laughs, or hopefully laughs for a good performer. And the performance is composed only of dialogue. There is no exposition. It's merely dialogue, and so the audience needs to be able to like tell between that. There's also no movement because you're just in a kneeling position the entire time. And so what I found was like Rakugo, it tries to appeal to like fundamental or universal human emotions and feelings and experiences. And some stories can be like fantastic, as in like fantasy, like in a fantasy setting, or science fiction, stuff like that. But far more often, events are like in a real world setting. Events happen that seem like they could happen. Maybe not that they do, but they seem realistic enough to be plausible. And so the performer needs to be able to draw upon the imagination of the audience so that the audience can imagine like the performer's only in one spot, but he needs to be able to invoke the audience's imagination of like, oh, so this is happening, and like envision the characters maybe moving around or doing certain things. And so like humor, in like the terms of Rakugo, humor is a sequence of like tension and release, like miniature like you know how I said earlier, rising action, the climax, like miniature ones of those, but leading up to a big one. Like moments of like, oh, you get interested and then something unexpected or surprising happens, and so it's like, oh, something funny happened. And so like you try to engage the audience and then surprise them, try to make something different happen. And so here's the history of Rakugo. Like, it first appeared in late 1600s Japan, the 17th century. Those were the first records of it, and it's considered one of the classic forms of Japanese theater, like kabuki or bunraku theater, like because they all sort of emerged in the same time period, and it originated from street performances, like just like you'll go to, like, you know how modern day you'll go to the street and you'll see like a guy on a saxophone or something playing around. Well, it started sort of like that. People on the street performing for like maybe donations or something like that. And they would like parody the long Buddhist sermons from the temples, which like some people consider them like really boring. So they would make fun of the fact that they were so long and so boring, and they would try and make it more interesting. And gradually this practice gained in popularity until Rakugo performers were performing alongside, like, say, magic shows and juggling at like vaudeville theaters. Not like a big stage theater like the Strad Center or something like that, but more like small, more local theaters, things like those. And so the performer is only allowed 2 props. First, this doesn't count as a prop, but usually they sit on a pillow or a mattress kind of thing, instead of just the ground, though it's not necessarily required. But the performer is allowed 2 props, a towel and a fan. And that is it. They don't need to use them, but if they use props, it has to be these. Like the towel, say, can be used as like a book or like some sort of folder or something like that, or an actual towel. And the fan can be utilized as like a pen or chopsticks or scissors. And these aren't the only kinds of objects that can be mimed. These are just some examples. And these objects, the reason that they were used for it is because they were, at the time of Rakugo's early development, they were commonplace. Most people had them. Most people had like a fan and like a towel. And so most people would be able to be like, oh, a towel and a fan. And I feel like the reason that there was no written material, like the thing is only dialogue. I feel like the reason that there's only dialogue is because when it was made, a lot of the population of Japan was illiterate. Like, they wouldn't be able to read, so they would be able to hear and understand. But if you, like, say, had a sign or something that said something, they wouldn't know what it was saying. And also involved in the history of Rakugo, mostly, even today, most Rakugo performers are male. It was, it's like sort of how in Shakespeare's plays, the female roles would be played by males, because it was just considered like males should be in the like theater business. It was considered something similar. And while today there are female Rakugo performers, it's still much more common for them to be male performers. And those are just like an example of the towel and the fan that you would find. And so Rakugo is still performed today, like, and it still seems to be quite popular actually. Like there are like movies about Rakugo, books about Rakugo, even like Japanese cartoons about Rakugo. And Rakugo actually has spread beyond just the islands of Japan. Like many performances toured other countries, or like the United States or the United Kingdom, and they perform in many other languages like English. And there are actually several non-Japanese Rakugo performers. And the genre of Rakugo is actually fairly flexible, because stories are always being created, explored, revised, and edited by different performers. Like, with the practice of becoming a Rakugo performer, it's different now because anybody can sort of try and start out, but traditionally, there's the master Rakugo performer, and then there are like the apprentice, who like has an apprenticeship for like a year or 2 years while they learn it, and the master will take them on if they like think that they might have a talent for it. And so, most of the performances were it's a carry on from how many people were illiterate. Most Rakugo stories are passed on by word of mouth rather than by like writing it down and then reading it like that. You hear it and then you recite it from your hearing. And there are still several different like classic Rakugos though that still exist today from way back then, like the story Jukumu about a youth with an absurdly long name, which was like sort of made to make fun of the fact that a lot of Japanese names can get pretty long. And that's just a picture of one of the foreign Rakugo performers. That guy's Canadian. And that's the Rakugo stuff. Now, I actually will perform a little Rakugo piece. Okay, can you see me fine? Okay. Oh man, it's so hot out today. I just got out of the airport. This New York, aren't there supposed to be taxis and stuff around? I need to find a taxi. Taxi. Where's the taxi? Come on. There's a taxi. Okay, taxi. Yes, I'm sorry. Hello? Hello. Can I get a ride? What are you talking about, man? Well, you're a taxi. I'm trying to get a drive to the business center. Oh. You want to get to the business center? Well, all you need to do is follow the road for maybe 5 miles, turn left. You should be out in a few blocks there. No, you don't get it. I'm trying to be in the... I want you to get me there. Oh, man, I don't get a lot of customers. Okay, but you're the only one around, so can you give me a lift? Sure. Get in. Okay, thank you. Okay, so, where did you say you wanted to get to? The business center, please. Man, it's really hot out today. Well, okay, I'll get to you there in 5 minutes. 5 minutes? You said it was like 5 miles away. Don't worry, I got this. We'll just go through the traffic. That was a red light. You just went through a red light. Yes, I know. But I'll just... Don't worry about it. We'll get there. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Well, don't worry. It'll be fine. We'll get there. What do you mean we'll get there? What happened? It's so peaceful. These are such beautiful flowers. I've never seen flowers like this before. Oh, yeah. This is a nice place. Taxi cab driver, where are we? We're in heaven. And so that is my performance. It's based off of a performance that I saw from a performer named Katsura, who performed in English. And so it's just an example of one way to do it. I've never done Rakugo before, so I don't know how effective it was. But the audience laughed, so I think I did well. And so, upon reflection, I've got to say, it's really interesting because like I'm used to performances with like multiple actors, and so for one person to be all the different characters is really interesting and actually kind of a fun way of doing it. And also, I got to give props to them because that pose, if there was not a pillow, that would be terror on the knees. So overall, I would say that I've grown an appreciation for the art.